Hey y'all, how y'all doing? I hope all is well. I hope everything's going well. And if it's not, it's going to get better. So today we're going to be talking about all the things to expect when it comes to your lock journey. I have more in-depth stuff about that on my TikTok and stuff, but this is stuff that people worry about, that I get a lot of questions about, that I see people worried about. And I want to kind of, ease those worries when it comes to that, to give you real expectations, because I don't want you coming into this, if you're thinking about locking your hair, or if you've just started thinking that it's going to be one way and it's not that way. We like to be realistic about things, and we should be realistic about how things are going to be and in touch with reality. So let's get into it. The first thing people worry about is, when will their hair fully lock? They ask other people that are fully locked, well, when does your hair fully lock? And it's like, I have to tell people that, you can't ask another person, when their hair fully locks and then expect your hair to do the same, because your hair is different. The way it's structured, the way God created it. So you can't really be dependent on another person to tell you when your hair is going to be fully locked by when their hair has fully locked. Your hair is going to fully lock when it fully locks. There's a lot of different factors. I'm going to get into everything else. I know for me, my hair probably really didn't need any assistance with locking faster, because when I've kept protective styles and back in the day, past the time I should, when they had their expiration date, my hair is matted and tangled up. So I know for a fact it wouldn't have needed assistance, but I wanted to get my hair to lock faster. There are ways around that. Coloring your hair can help your hair to lock faster. Using sea salt can help your hair to lock faster, and washing your hair a lot can help your hair to lock faster, because I'm always washing my hair even still to this day, and it's not even to get it to lock faster. It's just a part of a routine. So those are things that can help it to lock faster. But as far as when your hair will fully lock, it's not dependent on another person. It's dependent on your hair. Like, aside from these locks that I did with the interlocking, that the front ones are locking beautifully, might I add, and these bottom ones, because the curl pattern back there, or the texture, I'm sorry, back there is looser. The structure of my strands are looser. Aside from those, this not being fully locked back here, and these almost being fully locked up here, if I didn't do the adjustments and add this in the back and all of that, I'm 7 months locked. I turned 7 months on the 13th. My hair would be fully locked by now if I didn't do those adjustments. But because I did, my hair is not fully locked. Fully locked is every single lock on your head is locked. But all of the other locks that had no adjustments, they're fully locked. And this is how my hair looks. I'm going to get into some other things about my locks to help y'all as well. So the next thing is shrinkage. When is it going to stop? That's a very common question. That's the reason why people go get lock extensions. That's why they protective style. They don't like the shrinkage. So for them, it's, when is it going to stop? Shrinkage with locks, it stops. So let me get into the process first of how it works, and then I'll get into that. So your hair is like a yo-yo. When you first start off, the first 1 to 2 months, it's like it drops, then comes back up, drops, then comes back up. Then when it's done doing it, it comes back up. And the thing with locks that makes your hair look even shorter than it would look with loose natural hair is it wraps around itself. So you lose even more length than if you were to be just a loose natural. That's the thing that makes people add the extensions. When is it going to stop is really dependent upon your hair. Like, for basically 7 months, my hair was shrinking up. Okay, it did the yo-yo stage, and then it shrunk up, and then here we are now. You see it's not doing that anymore. It's just dropping and locking. Unless you interlock, you get a little more length with interlocking, but your hair does still shrink up. It's going to shrink up. But for the most part, you do have a little teeny bit more length, but it's not as much. Like, my hair shrunk up, as you can see. But when it comes to, your hair, when is it going to stop, it's dependent upon your hair. The more tightly coiled and more tightly curled your hair is, the more it's going to shrink up and wrap around itself. It would make sense, because when you wear a loose natural, if you have tightly coiled, tightly curled hair, your hair shrinks up a lot. So that's something to be realistic about when we're talking about shrinkage. And when is it going to stop? I can't really tell you, especially if you never locked your hair. You're not going to know. It took my hair 7 months to stop fully shrinking up and fully getting to the point now where it's going to grow and, you know, drop down and y'all actually start seeing it. So that's something to keep in mind, the structure of your hair strands. If you have a loose structure to your hair strands, you're going to get shrinkage, but it's not going to be as so much as someone that has a tightly coiled, tightly curled structure to their strands. So keep that in mind, but neither one is bad because the shrinkage is good. That means your locks are doing what they're supposed to do, and when they're wrapping around themselves and shrinking up, it's a very good thing, good sign. The next thing is Frizz. If y'all see me looking over, I had to write a list because I shot this video like twice before and I was all over the place. So it's just to remind me of points. Frizz is a common one. People don't like Frizz. Like, I got a little bit of like Frizz right now or whatever. You know, but I have more in other spots. Some people will cut it. Some people will do other things because they don't like the frizz. Embrace it. I think it's beautiful. In the beginning, you're going to have a lot of frizz. When you're first starting your locks, you're going to see a lot of frizz to the point you might not even be... You'll be able to see your locks, but it'll be very frizzy. And so just embrace it. I wouldn't cut it off or anything like that. Let it be, because that's a part of your locks. And so you just constantly cutting parts of your locks every time you cut the frizz out. Don't do that. Leave it be. Leave it alone, because that's your hair meshing together to lock. It has to mesh together to lock. So leave the frizz alone. Let it be. Embrace it. You're going to be all right. The super amount of frizz that you have won't last forever. Your locks will become mature. Even people with mature locks, they have frizz, but it ain't going to be as much as it was when we started off in the beginning. The next thing is budding. You know, I've had people... allegedly they do locks that have told me in the beginning when my hair was budding that whoever does my retwist, they need to retwist to the bottom, and they didn't. I was like, I didn't understand how they did locks but didn't understand budding. I don't know, but people trusted that person. So with budding, it happens. You know, let your locks be. Some people, as a part of maintenance, they palm roll their locks, and you know, it's to help the structure of your locks. You know, budding is just a thing. Budding is something that happens. And, you know, that's just something to keep in mind. And if you don't know what it is, what I'm talking about is when your locks start looking pregnant. It looks like a pregnant baby belly when your locks. You'll notice it no matter which way you start. And so that's normal. You want your hair to bud so it can get to the point of being mature, like how you see my locks are getting to that point. So keep that in mind. The next thing is loose hair. You know, you might have a loose hair that grows away from the lock. It's just a straight hair. I would say to wrap those hairs around the lock, because what happens is it will grow into the other lock. And if you're somebody that does maintenance, it's going to be a nightmare trying to get it apart so that it's not growing into another lock, because it doesn't know where to go or what to do. So keep that in mind. Wrapping those hairs would be the best thing to do. Don't cut them, just wrap them, because it's a part of the lock. It needs help locking. So then the next thing is the length of locks. That's the major one. That's again why people go and get lock extensions. You know, the length is going to come. For me, I'm not really worried about the length. Like, my hair is I'm considered to have short traditional locks, and I'm okay with it. I'm more than okay with that, because I love my locks. I love their characteristics. I love who they are. So the length doesn't bother me. For some people, it bothers them if their hair is short. That's why some people try to wait until their hair gets longer. But the thing is, you can't predict or stop the shrinkage. So even if your hair is longer, like my hair is a lot longer than what it looks like in these locks, you're not going to be able to predict that. That's why it doesn't make sense to wait until your hair gets longer to lock it, because you're still going to go through, no matter what the structure of your hair is or how your hair is, you're still going to go through shrinkage. The next thing is the 2-strand twist pattern. You don't go through this with the comb coils or the finger coils, because, you know, it's going to be the coils, but your hair will just fill the coils in for that lock. So it's just, you know, you have the parts that's filled in as your locks mature with comb coils or finger coils, and then the actual coil part that needs to finish maturing. When it comes to 2-strand twist, that pattern, people ask, when does that disappear? It really depends on your hair. Like, I have some spots, that's an interlock lock that I did maintenance for, you know, where you could still see a little bit of the 2-strand twist pattern. The color conceals it. When does it go away is really dependent upon your hair. So like, you're not going to be able to tell when it's going to go away. It might go away in that first year fully. it might take a little bit over a year for it to disappear. It really just depends. The next thing is, and it's actually an extra I'm going to add in. I saw somebody was talking about like people that have like, you know, different characteristics with their locks. So they might have like, you know, just like little like lumps and things like that. I think it looks dope. I have a lock over here and I have tightly coiled and tightly curled here. Is it this? Yeah. Like, you know, my hair, my lock is doing it and I don't mind that. That don't mean that you did anything wrong. That's just what your lock is doing. So don't let anybody tell you that you did something wrong. That's just how your hair is. And if they feel that way, then they have a lot to learn about hair, because that's just naturally how your hair is, what it's doing. And for me personally, I didn't want all structured uniform locks. Some people do. They want all their locks to look the same. No, I happen to want some variety. So yeah. The next thing is, if your locks don't look like someone else's, did you do something wrong? No, it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that your locks don't look like someone else's, because one thing about locks, your hair is not going to look like anyone else's. And that's something to keep in mind, and I want y'all to be realistic about that too. Like, you know, you can ask about a lock count, do the same amount of locks as someone else, and your hair not look the same. I don't care if y'all got the same density, which means the thickness of your hair, so when you can see through to your scalp. I don't care if y'all have the same thickness or that your locks are not going to look the same, because y'all don't have the same hair. So keep that in mind. The next thing is thinning and breakage. It's many reasons for that, but, you know, just pay attention. If your locks are thicker throughout and they start thinning towards the bottom, pay attention to that. If they're thicker in some parts and then they start thinning towards some parts, pay attention to that. I'm not talking about when you're going through budding. I'm talking about like as they mature and they get older. Thinning and breakage can come from mechanical damage, like tight styles constantly, color damage, you know, just stuff that you're doing possibly, or it can come from within, like health issues you may not know about, or you may be taking medication for that may affect that. So, you know, looking into all that is important. But that's all the major stuff that people worry about, that I hear them talk about or ask me about. You know, hopefully this helps y'all. Hopefully it gives you an understanding if you're someone considering locking your hair. Hopefully it gives you an understanding in the beginning of your journey about how this goes and what's going to happen with your hair and your hair's changes and transformations. I really was trying to explain those changes and transformations to y'all so that y'all can have real expectations of what your hair is going to do. You know, consider your hair structure, consider the strands. If you need to go back to when you were, you know, pictures when you were a loose natural, and look at how much your hair shrunk up to give you a realistic idea of that. You know, understand that, because I know for me, I started off on blow dried 2-strand twist, and I don't know who I thought I was fooling or what I was thinking about, thinking that I was going to keep all my length. The way it was set up, my hair was just like, absolutely not. So that's it, y'all. I hope this helped y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.